mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. Let's disturb the peace. Disturb the peace. On a mission from heaven, there's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. Let's disturb the peace. Disturb the peace. On a mission from heaven, there's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to man too cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Let's disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace. I'm a protector on a mission from heaven. There's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you. Disturb the peace. We're trying to match your cool. Disturb the peace.
Welcome to Disturbing the Peace. I'm your host, John Amanchukwu, coming to you live from Y-Refi Studios. Today on the show, we will talk about the Iran strike, whether it's a righteous defense or a reckless escalation. And then I'm going to talk about the BET circus. Let me tell you something. I loathe what BET and in particular the NAACP has become. I'm going to talk about this today here on Disturbing the Peace. The October 7 attacks on Israel reshaped the conversation about security in the Middle East. But beyond the immediate violence, some analysts are asking a deeper question. Did Western policy decisions in the years leading up to the attacks contribute to the strategic conditions that made them possible? Was that the case? In a recent article, Larry Alex Taunton argues that diplomatic, military, and political choices in the West played a role in shaping the environment surrounding October 7. That's a serious claim, my friends, and one worth unpacking carefully. Larry is an author, a cultural commentator, and host Ideas Have Consequences. Joining me now on the show is Larry Taunton.
How are you, John?
I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure to be with you.
Listen, you wrote a masterful piece for the Federalist. I want to pull that up now, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about it. This piece that you wrote, I think more people need to gain an understanding about what took place on October 7. More people need to know about this. The first question that I have for you is, in your Federalist piece, what do you mean by saying the West aided and abetted the October 7 attacks?
You know, John, authors never get to title their own articles. So I would have titled it much more specifically, the Biden administration, no doubt, probably at the urging of Obama, but the Biden administration, very specifically, they played both arsonist and fireman as it relates to October 7th and as it relates to Iran. And the way that they did this was because they released funds that had been frozen by Trump in his first presidential terms. More than $6 billion that went to Iran. They also helped the United Nations, the UNRWA, which is a United Nations organization that works in Gaza, and it really is a voice for an arm of Hamas, but their monies came primarily from the United States. And then, of course, the Biden administration also ended oil embargoes against Iran, allowing Iran to increase their exports by 80%. And of course, what do they do with this money? They funded October 7th. They funded Hamas. They trained many of the Hamas fighters. They gave them technological sophistication to carry out the attacks. And this is to say nothing of the fact that, the Obama administration, think about this. Iran attacked or aided in the attack of American troops 83 times in Biden's first 2.5 years in office, just in that period alone. And it's like the Biden administration said, you know what? We're so grateful that you're killing our troops. We're going to reward you.
You know, that's insane. And what do you think about the former administration? Of course, we all recall, I believe it was President Obama who gave Iran, what was it, $1.7 billion?
That's right. Everybody knows about the pallets of cash. That's going around all over on social media. The images of that, the literal pallets of cash that required forklifts to load onto planes and send to Iran. Everybody knows about that, but the Biden administration gave them far more than that, many times more than that. And my own feeling about the Biden administration, I chuckled when you asked the question because I'm inclined, John, to use expletives when you ask me about the Biden administration. I think the Biden administration was a very corrupt, illegitimate administration. And I think Biden himself was basically just an empty suit who was for sale to anybody. I don't know that Biden himself has any. I mean, now there's probably hardly anything going on in his head, but I don't know that Biden himself was devoted to any particular ideology. I just think he was for sale.
What specific Western policies do you believe most influenced the strategic environment before October 7th?
Well, I think that one of the big things that's happening, John, that's changing the climate in the Middle East and in America is the fact that for decades, post-World War II, post-creation of the State of Israel in 1948, I think Israelis could rest in comfort knowing that the United States had their back. The United States was very supportive. Didn't mean we endorsed everything they did or agreed with everything they did, but they could, in the macro level, they could count on American support. That's changing. And why is that changing? I think it's changing for two things, for two reasons. The first is that Muslims have learned, Arab countries have learned, Muslim majority countries have learned to crack the code on the United States path to political power. They know that jihadism, Islam, doesn't sell well in the United States, but they see the same polls that you and I see, John, and they know that socialism does. And so they're using socialism as a Trojan horse to hide their jihadists in. People like, Ilhan Omar and Mandani, Sakid Khan in London, and numerous others. They're all masquerading as individuals who have a concern for the poor and the fair and equitable redistribution of wealth and this kind of thing. But they're fifth columnists. I mean, they are jihadists. So that's one of the things that's changed, and that's affecting American, policy in the Middle East. Second is they've never found their own Benjamin Netanyahu, someone who's charismatic and liked by and large by Americans, and has been a voice for Israel directly to the American people for decades. I can remember seeing him on Nightline back in the 80s when I was in high school. So he's been doing that for a long time. Muslims have never found that guy, but they have learned they can buy universities. They can buy an army of bots and influencers on social media. I mean, just post anything positive about Israel and see how long it takes for your timeline to be just full of vile.
Well, you know what? Hold it here, Larry. You just keyed in on something. Not too long ago, I made a statement at a TPUSA event about one Candace Owens, okay, speaking and addressing much of what she was doing to diminish the legacy of Charlie Kirk. She said that she wanted to burn down TPUSA, and even what she's doing now with Erica Kirk is just a travesty. And I noticed that for the next 2.5 weeks, my X timeline was inundated daily, with bot messages. These people would have 2 followers, 10 followers, 100 followers, 50 followers, but they were saying some of the most asinine things out there. Now, there are many people who talk about these bots, but is this real? Are these individuals hiring entities or marketing agencies to release bots on people?
You've probably seen images of this, just rooms full of, phones that are hooked up. And part of the way you can notice them is one of the things you just said, John, is they have 2 followers and, all the messages seem to be the same. But you'll also notice that a lot of the messaging is very, very similar from one bot to another. There may be a slight change in the vocabulary, but it more or less is the same. And so they're learning to play the opinion making game in the West through the purchase of universities. And also, I mean, there's a lot of, rumor about whether or not people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, maybe Megyn Kelly are actual, financial beneficiaries. I don't know if that's true or not. But what I do know is that Arabs have learned what I call the soft use of monetary power. And that's just simply, if you recall, Tucker Carlson was invited, to Qatar and on this speaking tour of the Middle East, and they wined him and tined him and stroked his ego and told him how wonderful he is. Did they actually say, hey, here's a contract where you'll say what we want you to say? I doubt it, but they probably paid him very generous speaking honoraria. And having left there, I think they know that their influence with him is very, very strong. Same with Russia. Going to Russia, everybody's so nice, and they give him the tour, and they take him to 5-star restaurants and this kind of thing. And then afterwards, he feels a little, I'm speculating, feels a little, beholden to them. Now, what we've seen recently with Tucker is starting to suggest something much more sinister, and he's heading the way that Candace Owens has been. But again, Arabs are learning that they can use their money in ways like this, and they're sponsoring these pro-Palestinian, marches and protests and anti-Israel stuff as well.
I want to know what universities that they've taken over, and then I'm going to show you a video of Nick Fuentes having a meltdown. I mean, he's a bot himself. I mean, the guy has lost his mind, and he thinks he's going to be the replacement for Charlie Kirk. But I'm going to play that video clip. But what universities have they taken over?
Well, most famously Columbia, but we also know that we've seen this kind of stuff at Harvard. We've seen it at Princeton. We've seen it at UPenn. But I think maybe I would ask the question a little differently. Which ones haven't they purchased? Because even me just popping in to universities just randomly and walking a campus, and you find this kind of stuff all over the place, and it's because it's become for young people, being against anything that Trump is for is seen as fashionable and in.
I agree with you 100%. We also see this takeover, if you will, in public schools, as well as they push ideologies like gender theory, queer theory, critical race theory. Course. Teaching kids to despise and dislike the American flag. Let me show you this clip of Nick Fuentes, and then I want to get your reaction to it. Play this video.
All of those people, with some exceptions, were never Trumpers in 2016. Shapiro didn't vote for Trump in 2016. Mark Levin was critical of Trump in 2016. Where were these people when the movement was actually born, when those pillars were in place? Now all of those people are in the center. The movement is something else now. And what we need in 2028, this is our last chance. We need in 2026 for this administration to be shut the fuck down. What does this administration do other than cover up the Epstein files, embezzle money through government contracts, and bring us to war for Israel? This administration needs to be shut down immediately. Do not vote in the midterms. And if you do, vote for Democrats. That is what the Republicans deliver. That is what our golden age looks like. The tariffs were refunded. The deportations were stopped. They wound down and withdrew the ICE from Minneapolis. What does this administration do other than embezzle money, go to war with Iran, and bury the Epstein files? Oh, and blackmail Harvard so they police anti-Semitism and ban people who criticize Israel from being in America. This administration needs to be shut down immediately. It has forfeited its mandate. They promised no new wars. They promised mass deportations in America first, and we're not getting any of it. So shut it down. In 2026, shut it down. And our only hope is that in 2028, in the Republican primary, somebody will emerge who will actually put America first. I am not voting for the vice president and the secretary of state that brought us to war in Iran. I won't do it. 2026, shut it down. You got to burn the house down with them inside, metaphorically. And in 28, you better hope that somebody has a prayer to run the Trump strategy and do another hostile takeover over the GOP. Otherwise, I'm going to become a Democrat. Like at that point, rather than be beholden to this country, that is our last chance.
What we see from this video clearly is that, people like Nick Fuentes has an ideological problem and an animus towards President Trump, conservative belief systems and ideologies, and it's diabolical. What is your takeaway from what he just said?
Well, my takeaway is that, he's not worth listening to. He's ignorant. He's full of hate. He's in no way represents anything on the right. Honestly, he comes off sounding like a demagogue to me. And the impression I get from just clips like this that I've seen of him is that he's a fascist. So this isn't anybody who needs to be giving marching orders to any conservatives. And I thought that he said it. I thought he told us exactly who he was when he was saying you should vote for Democrats, and he was going to become a Democrat. So there you go.
But here's the thing. I mean, I think that we should expose anyone who purports to be a conservative, and when you don't get your way, when the president chooses to be the president and make a decision that goes against what you like, now you're telling everyone to not vote in the primaries or in the midterm elections. You're telling people to now go vote for Democrats, the party that wants to push gender confusion, the party that wants abortion on demand, the party that's driven up inflation, the party that keeps our borders open and allows, nearly 15 million illegal aliens to come into our country. I mean, why are these people gaining ground and momentum within the conservative movement?
Well, John, I think, we've not met before. The two of us. It's the first time I've been on your show, and thank you for having me. My brief interaction with me suggests you're a guy who's driven by principle. And if I had time to sit and have coffee with you and dig a little deeper, I would guess you're probably driven by Christian principle. Well, that's the same for me. And so for us, what is pushing us, what drives us, is we're rooted in absolute truth. Doesn't mean we always get it right, but it means that serves as sort of the core of our belief system. When you're looking at guys like this, and you're looking at guys like Tucker Carlson or a Candace Owens or an Andrew Tate, some of the people, just to name a few who are out there, they're not driven by that. These are individuals who are they're demagogues. They're individuals who are seek to create a cult of personality for themselves. They'll do anything, and I mean absolutely anything. And forgive me, I use it here in the biblical sense. They're whores. They're clickbait whores. They'll say absolutely anything to pander to an audience, to get attention, to get people like us to talk about them. So do I think that there are some in the conservative movement who are, who are being drawn in that direction? The moment you start listening to those people, first of all, you cease to be a conservative. You're not a conservative if you're believing what they're telling you. But I think it also tells us, John, how bereft our education has become, so that a lot of people don't really understand that conservative ideals, conservatism, is rooted in a Judeo-Christian worldview. That's what it's rooted in. And I want to give some definition to what I mean by Judeo-Christian, because even that term is now under attack.
Yes, indeed, it is.
Yes, what we mean by that is we create a Venn diagram. Is you have the place where Judaism and Christianity overlap is in the Old Testament scriptures. We hold them as Christians. We hold them to be Holy Scripture. They hold them to be Holy Scripture. They have additional scriptures we do not acknowledge. We have additional scripture, the New Testament, which they do not acknowledge. But we do believe that the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, the law in particular, that's holy. And that law has given rise to the West as we know it. So when we say a Judeo-Christian principles or worldview, that's what we're talking about. And unfortunately, those things are not being taught particularly well today, so that the ideals that are expressed in, let's say, the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their, those things are, I was speaking on a university, campus, and I quoted that, and I was quoting it slowly. I was inviting students to finish it with me, and I could tell they didn't know what in the world I was talking about. It was astonishing to me. Or the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. They're not familiar, with those ideas. So the result is, to quote C.S. Lewis, the people with soft heads become easy prey for the propagandist when he comes. And Nick Fuentes is a propagandist of the evil sort.
I agree with you 100%. And also we find Candace Owens steadily in that bucket. There's a tweet that I want to show you here. I'm going to read it. It says, "No one ever should sign up for United States military outside of those who wish to join the IDF. Go home and defend your neighborhoods instead. Let the Mark Levins and Ben Shapiro send their offspring instead. We are an occupied nation. This is why Charlie was deleted." And I have to say deleted. She used the M word there, but YouTube and all these social media platforms, they censor you. So I'll just say deleted. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, Candace Owens' descent into an abyss of hate and the evil that is pouring out of her heart has been something to watch, because I was never a big listener to her show, but some years ago, I thought, Candace Owens, she's what I see of her. She seemed like a very brave woman. She seemed very thoughtful, very articulate, a really lovely presence. And then she started going further and further off of the rails, particularly after her break with Daily Wire. But she strikes me as an individual, and it's why I said hate. She just strikes me as an individual who is full of hate. And I'm reminded of a quotation by a historian whose book I didn't love, but this quotation was deeply insightful, a man by the name of J.M. Thompson. He said this, he said, "When a man finds that he can identify personal grievance with a matter of principle, he's very dangerous." And the point being that Candace Owens, she disguises her hate as a matter of principle. But she's not principled. There are no principles. She's absolutely animated by, driven by hate. And it's not just anti-Semitic hate. The hate, as you pointed out early in this interview, what she's done to Erica Kirk, I find unconscionable. It's been so evil. It's been so vile. And it's very Nick Fuentes-like. And then again, it's all about just getting the clicks. Let's just get the clicks. And if I can claim that Brigitte Macron, it has a
package,
a male appendage, If I can claim that, then I'll do that. Well, she suddenly has dropped that.
Right.
She suddenly isn't about that anymore. She followed that as far as she could. Now she's on this Charlie Kirk thing. And none of this is about principle. It's all about clicks, and it's all about hate.
You know, I agree with that 100%. There are some people who are saying right now that this is a new war, and President Trump campaigned on not bringing us into a new war. No more new wars. He said that over and over again. But the question is this a new war, or is this an old war?
It's an old war. Since 1979, I'm old enough to remember, and you probably are too. I was just a kid when I remember seeing the images of Iranian revolutionaries climbing the fence, the gates to get into the United States Embassy in 1979, and them holding hostage American citizens for more than, I want to say, like 445 days, and the impotence of President Carter to deal with it. But what Americans don't understand is that Iran has been waging a war, either directly or proxy war, against the United States ever since then. It was the Ayatollah who coined the phrase that America is the great Satan, and he's called for attacks from all Muslims around the world against Americans, and he's perpetrated this for decades now, the Ayatollahs. So for me, this is, I don't consider the war with Ukraine America first. I don't think America should be involved in that war. I do see this as America first, and there are some, John, who they say they're America first, but really what they are is they're America only. They don't see anything relevant outside of our borders. And I think that for our own protection, sometimes, if your children, if your house is under siege and you realize that what's happening is there's a crack house, down the street, and until you deal with that, your home, your children are never going to be safe. Well, I think President Trump understands that, and that's what he's doing.
I appreciate your candor, Larry, and just being honest on these issues. You're hard pressed to find people who have the lofty titles that you have, the wit and wisdom that you have as well, that are willing to just speak plainly and address these issues head on. I'm going to bring you on the show again. I do want to form more of a relationship with you. Now, you mentioned 1979, my friend. I was born in 1984.
Okay.
And
well,
so
I see just a little gray in your beard. I remember 1979 for both that and for the fact that it was yet another Alabama national championship in 1979. So, but it's been a pleasure to be with you, and thanks for having me.
You too, my friend. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining the show. All right, listen, Larry Alex Taunton, I mean, he's phenomenal. I hope you enjoyed his takes and what he had to say. He keyed in on something. He talked about deceit or what the Bible calls deceitful speech. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 through 12 says this in the NIV version. It says, "For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips," here it is, "from deceitful speech." Deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. If you want to know if a person is following Jesus Christ, truth or absolute truth, or what's good and what's wholesome, you have to determine whether or not they are turning from evil and to good. But there are a lot of people who are turning towards the evil and they're repelling the good. It goes on to say they must seek peace and pursue it. You have to seek peace. You have to fight for peace. You have to labor for peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous. Let me say that again. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord, here it is against those who do evil. I've been witnessing, just as well as you have, the number of attacks that have come upon Turning Point USA, the legacy of Charlie Kirk, and upon Erica Kirk. The people who are doing this are using, by and large, deceitful speech. Now, in the Greek, deceitful gives you the word dolios as an adjective or dolos as a noun. It means deceit and or guile. It refers to guileful, treacherous behavior, often metaphorically meaning concealing the hook. Get this, concealing the hook, like a fisherman's hook hidden by bait. And so therefore, they tell you half-truths, or they feed you to the point where you find yourself becoming a glutton for what they have to say, but you don't understand that there's a hook within the food that they are serving up. And so they are masterminds. They're crafty at concealing the hook, or we could even say hiding the poison. Oh, yes, they're going to feed you. They're going to communicate to you. They'll have large platforms. They'll win you with their charm, wit, and charisma because they once said some good things and got it right down through the years. Now they can slowly but surely feed you things that are harmful, things that will even push you in the opposite direction of the Lord. It's called concealing the hook. And so there requires a certain amount of spiritual discernment that we must have. It's a requirement that we all need. Let's just be honest. You have to have spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment is the thing that helps you see the hook while it's covered. You got to be able to see it. You have to be able to discern it. I could tell that from the first video that Candace Owens started to do, the first video, second video, third video, that, oh yeah, there's a hook in there. There is. I could see it. I could smell it. You know, if you're fishing and you want to try to catch maybe some catfish or things of that nature, they say use things that, you know, that are like chicken gizzards and liver, you know, because they give off an aroma in the water for those kinds of fish. I could smell the bait, but I knew that there was a hook within it as well. And so for those of you out there, don't be duped. Now, I talked about this on Instagram. I posted some images and I've done some videos, and I've lost, you know, a significant amount of followers because I'm exposing the deceitful speech. And guess what? By the time it's all over, I don't know, my account that was at 202,000 followers on Instagram, it could go down to 0. Well, I wouldn't say 0. I mean, my wife follows me. At least I'll have one follower. I hope. You know what I mean? I don't think she's going to unfollow me. Please don't, baby. But we have to be in the position in society today that we're willing to say what needs to be said, just like Larry just did, and not be afraid of what might come of it. I'm getting ready to do that again as I talk about this BET NAACP circus that just took place. I want to talk about this now on Disturbing the Peace. Listen, BET allowed Dion Cole to use the Lord's name in vain. He did it repetitively. Now, the Bible says this in Exodus 20, verse 7. It says, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Let me say that again. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. In other words, you're going to be guilty if you use the Lord's name in vain. And guess what? BET is guilty as well. They haven't come out to condemn him. The NAACP haven't come out to condemn him, Dion Cole, for using the Lord's name in vain. And in a room full of, you know, primarily Christians, marginal Christians at best, he would have said what he's getting ready to say in this video that we're getting ready to show you. He wouldn't have said this in an audience full of Iranians, Muslims. He wouldn't use the name of Muhammad or Allah in vain. He wouldn't do it. But it's commonplace to do it to the Christian faith because we say it's comedy. But the Bible doesn't call it comedy. God is going to judge BET, the NAACP, and Dion Cole harshly for this. Take a look at this video. Give a man a chance with her. Give a woman a chance with her. This is the values of Black entertainment. This is the values of the NAACP, which is supposed to be for the advancement of colored people. But it's not about the advancement of colored people. It's about the advancement now of queer people. They have had a severe mission drift for decades. We know the story. In order for them to raise funding, they got in the bed with the LGBTQIA plus agenda. And overnight, they went from being in the red to being in the black. And now they're full of money and support. And they have to bring on people like Dion Cole and say the things that he just said, because guess what? It pays the bills. It pays the bills, keeps money coming in. We have to appease the agenda. And these Black people sit in this audience and they laugh like a bunch of morons. Only a person with an ape spirit would think that this is funny. Oh yeah, they were angry when an inadvertent clip was released accidentally, mistakenly, in a video that was supposed to be about voter fraud. Now, these people in this audience, they were up in arms about that. They were upset about it. I don't like this Trump. Who do you think you are, right? But they can laugh at this? God forbid. Watch. And so just help me here. We have a Black comedian on a Black television network paying homage to a Black organization while demonizing and sexually insulting a Black or melanated person while praying and using the Lord's name. And this gets laughs. These people are diabolical. How can you laugh at this? How can you not become enraged by this? Where is the righteous indignation amongst at least one person in this audience? You mean to tell me that not one of these ninjas left offended by this? Now, the NAACP gave a statement about the 1 second ape clip. In my denomination, the Church of God in Christ, we received a statement about the ape clip. But I wonder if we're going to get any statements from these Black organizations and or denominations about this. And if we don't, it's because there's a conflict of interest. What is the conflict of interest? I'll tell you. They despise anything and all things Republican. It doesn't matter if you're Clarence Thomas, they despise you. Brilliant, articulate, wealthy, successful, prominent, the greatest, I would say, Supreme Court justice of all time. He's a Black man. He's as brown as me or darker than me. He fits the description for what these organizations and entities say that they want to support. But he's in the wrong political party. Same thing with Dr. Ben Carson. Same issue, same problem, same challenge. It's a conflict of interest. You have to be a simp for the Democrat Party in order to receive the favor of these people. That's what you have to do. You have to be willing to shut off your spiritual discernment, your righteous indignation, and the likes. Support policies and ideologies that go against us. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that the overall population in America amongst Black people who listen and indulge upon this Black entertainment, it's dwindling, it's going down. We are a ever so diminishing people. You don't hear much about that. You want to know why? It might make you sound like a Republican. And anything that sounds Republican or MAGA-ish, no, we can't talk about that. We can't support that. We conflate an abortion with a miscarriage. We support entities that seek to eviscerate us. We have become puppets. And who is the puppet master, you might ask? The puppet master has always been, and Malcolm X tried to tell us, the puppet master has always been white liberals dangling us in their agenda. They know how to make us lift our hands and support what they do. The puppet master controls our mouths. We can laugh when God's name is used in vain. The puppet master knows how to control our feet, make us march when we think that we're being demonized by the white man or the white Republican man. See, they only let you see the white Republican man, but they never let you see the white liberal. And my thing is, yes, there's hatred, there's venom, there's racism on all sides and amongst all people. Yeah, you should be able to see the racism of a white Republican, but why can't these intellectual people see the racism amongst the white liberal? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Why can't you see it when it's on the other side? There's a strategy there. They don't want you to see it. This is why Jesse Jackson had to do what he did. He had to sell out just to get the favor of the puppet master. Be mindful of this. Be mindful of it. I will be waiting for statements from all of the pompous, illustrious, important dignitaries and the likes amongst us out there in Black America. I want to see some statements. I don't agree with everything that Nicki Minaj has done. Don't miss me here. Don't miss me. I do think that her lyrics are deleterious towards our community. But hey, this is BET. This is what we do. This is what we like. Yeah, we get off on that. We pop it. We pop our stuff on that. Yeah, we pop P. That's what they call it. We pop P on this. This is what we love. We love this kind of stuff. We love this kind of carrying on. This is what we do. The more ratchet and raunchier, the better. If it ain't ratchet, if it ain't raunchy, if it ain't reckless, we don't want it. But make it reckless, make it raunchy, and make it ratchet, and then we'll dance to it. This is what we like. And so, historically, she was cool. She was down. I don't know what's going on. And who knows? There are many people who may not feel like I do. It's not my problem. That's your problem. Because you become desensitized. because you don't understand the magnitude of Psalm 1. That's the problem, because you have lost your ability to see, because you have, sold out. Psalm 1 verse 1 says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. That's the problem. The problem is where we walk, where we stand, and where we sit. And that's what we're seeing, even amongst this big showdown at the BET NAACP Image Awards. Image. What image? Man, we're made in the image of God. And what just happened in this video clip does not embrace the Imago Dei, the real image of God. That's it for that. That's enough of that. I have to leave that alone. In a little bit, I'm going to bring up another guest, David A. Grantham, but I want to now talk to you about an opportunity that has shifted the landscape for those who have been drowning in debt. Let's face it, my friends. Let's face it. If you have distressed or defaulted private student loans, nobody is coming to bail you out. Nobody. If you have a bankruptcy, yeah, they can help you with that. But hear me, having a bankruptcy should not be an option. It shouldn't. But you can take charge of your situation by contacting YRefi. Can you imagine being debt-free and not living under this burden anymore? The first step is contacting YRefi. If you go to YRefi.com, you can read testimonials from other people who have been where you are, people who have been down in the dumps. You wake up and you never feel refreshed because you have a mountain of debt. You have a mountain of debt weighing down upon you. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to respond. You don't know how to handle it. You'll find some testimonials at YRefi.com of people who escaped the fear and the nightmare of debt. You can even see what their monthly payments were versus what they are now. YRefi offers a 3-minute rate check without any credit impact. Bad credit is accepted. You don't have to ignore. You don't have to do it. You don't have to ignore the mountain of student loan statements on your kitchen table anymore, my friends. Don't let it pile up and you see it, but you don't see it. No, that's not the direction that you want to go in. The only thing that's going to happen is your credit score is going to get worse and worse and worse. The anxiety is going to pile up, but there's something you can do about it. Just call 888-YRefi-85. That's 888-YRefi-85, or log on to YRefi.com. That's YRefi.com. Take matters into your own hands and do something about the debt that's been piling up upon you. And trust me, YRefi is your best solution. And now on Disturbing the Peace, I want to have a conversation with Dr. David A. Grantham. You know, when U.S. diplomatic facilities are targeted, it's never just a protest. We have to keep that in mind. It's intentional. It's not just a protest. The attack on the U.S. consulate in Karachi amid violent demonstrations tied to escalating tensions involving Iran signals something deeper than spontaneous unrest. It raises serious questions about regional stability, proxy networks, and the safety of American personnel abroad. And when Iran's influence stretches beyond its borders, the ripple effects are rarely contained. Dr. Grantham, I want to talk to you about this and what's going on with the Iran strike. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, you've witnessed, just like I have over the past couple of days, just a barrage of responses and what people think about what's taking place and all of these issues and problems. You know, you are the president and CEO of Threat Management Group, former U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations. What are your thoughts thus far? The first question is more so geared towards the time frame of this potential war. Is this a new war or is it an old war?
Well, thanks for having me. That's a great question. I would start small. I think this is a quote unquote new war in the sense that we are watching Iran under new leadership who seems to, that leadership changes on a daily, if not weekly basis based on Israeli and U.S. strikes. But we're watching Iran under new leadership that is, quote unquote, on the ropes. And therefore, they are leveraging every asset in every propaganda channel, every any sort of outlet that they can. They're going to leverage against all adversaries, perceived adversaries. And because of that, I think we've reached a new war. This isn't leadership that is trying to measure their response against future activity, planning, strategy. Those leaders are gone. You have new leaders in place that are making new decisions. And it seems to me, based on this so far, that Iran is going to go far beyond what it had intended years before in response to strikes on its facilities, or even months before. So I say the short answer on a small level, it's a new war. Although this is part of a greater war. I served in Iraq and I served in southern Iraq during the Iraqi war, and we knew then that Iran was attacking us. And the administration chose not to directly confront Iran at that time. And for a variety of reasons, some legitimate, some I thought at the time to be a little quote unquote weak. But nevertheless, the strategy at the time was going after Al Qaeda in Iraq and not provoking a larger regional war against Iran, even though Iran was actively fighting against us. So this fight that Iran has been in with the United States has been going on kinetically and actively since the Iraq War. But I would say this is a new war in terms of this current event, but it's part of a broader fight that the United States has been in for a long time.
How does Iran's strategic posture influence unrest beyond its borders?
Yeah, that to me is the big question that has still yet to be answered. And it's going to be answered over time for sure. But Iran is not well liked in its neighborhood. It is a Shia country inside a large Middle East dominated by Sunni, which are the two competing sects of Islam. And so Iran is going to leverage its finite relationships. And I think most of those relationships are going to come in the form of affinity relationships with, it could be everyone from individuals to non-state actors who, while they may not subscribe to the Shia version of Islam, they do subscribe to jihad as Iran does. And so you're probably going to see things like in Karachi, a response that maybe was provoked by an organization inside Pakistan that in Karachi that aligns itself with Iran to some degree or another. The shooting in Austin, as best we can tell at this point, may have been a response to Iran's to the attack against Iran. So you're going to see, I think, some self-motivated, some that are likely connected. But Iran is going to have to leverage non-state actors and their limited relationships in the region to respond to this. And I'm just not sure where those relationships are going to pop up, but we're going to see them pop up, no doubt about it.
What role do proxy networks play in amplifying regional tensions?
Iran's proxy networks are the most important element in Iran's foreign policy. You could argue that the proxy networks that Iran has funded and staffed is the sword that they use to fight on the international battlefield. Those proxies have been decimated since October 7th, the attack on Israel. Therefore, without those proxies at their full capacity and capability, I don't see how effective Iran can be. But there's other proxies that we're not aware of, or at least have not been activated. I don't know how effective they will be, but rest assured, Iran lives by proxies, and therefore these proxies will play a prominent role in this war going forward.
How vulnerable are U.S. diplomatic missions during periods of geopolitical escalation?
Well, they're very vulnerable in terms of potential attacks. I think most of them at this point are reinforced for the immediate tactical security needs. But remember, Iran has to exercise a certain level of reach in order to be effective, but it is limited by its capability with how far it can extend its attacks. Therefore, the consulates, the embassies, anything that represents American interests will become a target of Iran simply because that is what Iran can reach in the near term. So they are going to be vulnerable to attack. They will be a target of attack. You'll probably see more and more attempts against these institutions like we saw in Karachi. But the United States is well aware of that too. That's not a new angle that America has to deal with. That's a theme in American foreign policy for decades. So while it's not new, they still will be a priority target of attack for Iran.
When you consider average everyday Americans who are now watching and trying to gain a better understanding on what's going on in Iran and the attacks and the airstrikes, what potential threat do we have? We just saw the attack in Austin, Texas, that took place at a bar. Should we be concerned for our lives?
Yeah, I do think Iran. So the question comes up sometimes: does Iran have sleeper cells in the United States? Are they going to be activated? And my response to that has often been: Iran generally treated the United States as a fundraising platform. They would, through fraud, through drug distribution, through other things, Iran uses its proxies to fund a lot of its activities to carry out attacks elsewhere, primarily because Iran attacking inside the United States, they know that's going to elicit a massive response. So I think the fear or the concern for me is things like what happened in Austin, out of sympathy or being programmed and in connection to Iran's proxies and are being activated to carry out these sorts of attacks. Americans need to be very vigilant, but no more vigilant than they probably should have been before these strikes. I tell people, if you see something that seems out of the ordinary, say something to police. Your job is not to ignore problems. Your job is not to decipher or overthink. Your job is to see it. If it looks unusual to you, it is probably unusual. Report it. Let the police figure out whether it is, in fact, a problem. You never know if your little piece of information is the key that allows law enforcement to thwart an attack.
Do you think that President Trump should have done the airstrike? Are we over our skis? Is this something that we shouldn't have done, or are we over the target and we're doing what we should be doing in this moment?
I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you he should have not done this or done that. I go back and forth depending on what day you ask me. On one hand, I do think the Trump administration should have made their case to the American public as to why this was necessary immediately. I think that has the fact that we should just have faith in the administration that they're making wise decisions. I don't subscribe to that. They need to make a full court press public release explaining exactly why, which eventually they did, trying to say that Iran was going to attack military bases. We need more than that. However, Iran has festered. They have attacked us for decades with virtually no response. So the fact that the Trump administration decided it was time to attack preemptively, I applaud if the intent was to save American lives. This has been, on one hand, long overdue. On the other hand, I think the Trump clear-eyed about this. This, going back to my first answer, this I think is a new war, and to boast in its limited capacity, to boast the fact that it's very specifically targeted, I appreciate that. I do. Nobody wants long wars, but you don't get to choose. My father always says, you may make your decisions, but you don't get to choose your consequences. Here, you're not getting to choose the consequences of your actions. So while you want it to be short and sweet, and that was your intent, that may not happen, and you have to prepare for that. We've already had 3 U.S. jets accidentally shot down in Kuwait. That is what happens in war. Bad things happen, even if your intent is to be quick and precise. So the Trump administration, I think, needs to be very clear-eyed about this, that they're dealing with new leaders in Iran. They do not intend for this to be short. In fact, they may say this is our last hurrah. And there's going to be ripple effects and consequences that spread far beyond the Middle East. We have to accept that and be willing to say it was worth it because they were about to attack us.
You know, Dr. David Grantham, I appreciate you for coming on the show and just speaking with a full chest and giving your interpretation and opinion on all of these things. I'm going to have you back on the show. Everyone, he's on with me now from his car. You know, this man has a million things going on, but he jumped on with yours truly to give me some of this counterintelligence intel. I appreciate you for doing so. Thank you so much. I'll have you back on the show. Hey, listen, I think that we should take to heart what Dr. David Grantham just said. We need to be mindful of the ramifications of these strikes. As he said, it's not, a situation where you get to decide what happens next and how long this goes on. They may retaliate. More than likely, they will retaliate. How many times will they retaliate? We don't know. But our hope and our trust is in the Lord. And also within that, the powers that be are ordained by God. We have to pray that God guides and steadily directs President Trump to make the prudent and right decisions to lead us. In the words of the late, great Charlie Kirk, he believed that Trump was the man to be able to direct and make the right decisions on what should happen as relates to our role in engaging Iran. I agree with Charlie Kirk. I believe the same thing. But ultimately, I'm trusting and leaning upon the Lord to guide us, to protect us, to shield us, and to cover and to keep America. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you so much for tuning in today. This is Disturbing the Peace. I'm signing out, but do me a big favor. Like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Set your notifications. Go and watch the podcast wherever podcasts can be found. I'm checking out now from YRefi Studios. God bless you.